welcome Jason Alexander, who stars in Bob Patterson. Hey, Jason.
Hey, guys. So you played the clip for my Humanitas Award.
You're a little Jewy.
Yeah, a little Jewy.
Just a little bit. How are
If you
you?
were listening, that's all.
I've been accused of that, being little and being Jewy.
That's right.
ABC spent a few bucks advertising that show.
I went out of pocket $3 or $4 myself.
Sure.
Yeah, every bus stop, every bus, every billboard. I mean, you had a lot of exposure.
Well, listen, what can we do?
Nothing.
I'll tell you what, and I'll tell you what else I have just loved you on this year. Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Thank you, sir.
That show has got to be a blast to do. That's the HBO show with Larry David. Do you know Larry David's in the Guinness Book of World Records?
For what?
I'm looking at it right here. He is in the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest earnings for a TV writer ever. Wow. Larry David, co-writer and co-creator of the U.S. comedy Seinfeld, earned an estimated, in 1998, take a guess, Jason Alexander.
Well, I'm thinking with the syndication payoff, probably somewhere in the neighborhood between $250 and $300 million.
Not bad. $242 million.
There you go.
Not bad.
Is Jason Alexander in that book?
Yeah.
No.
He didn't write the character, but he lived it.
But you guys have a great time, obviously, doing Curb Your Enthusiasm.
Well, what's great about it is the show is entirely ad-lib. There's no script. And I think in the 9 years that I did Seinfeld, and I was playing Larry, essentially.
Absolutely.
I think I actually made him laugh maybe a dozen times.
No kidding.
That's it?
He's very stoic about his own material because, he just knows it so well. And he was very serious about it all the time. But when we were shooting Curb, there was not a single take that he could get through. I broke him on every take, and I was very, very proud of myself. It was very rewarding after all those.
Did you know Larry before Seinfeld?
I had seen him perform, but I did not know him personally.
He was a frightening performer. I used to watch him. I mean, he would, if the audience didn't like him, he would swear at them and curse at them. He was nuts, and he still
I
is.
was a member of that audience once.
Oh, yeah.
It was a daunting experience.
I mean, to play him, did you tag around with him for a long time, or how did you get
No,
his
in
little...
fact, I didn't even realize that the character was based on him until about 12 shows in.
Oh, really?
We keep getting these scripts, and I would go to them, as a classically trained actor, I would go to them and say, this would never happen to anybody, and if it did, they wouldn't react like this. And Larry would always say, this happened to me, and this is exactly what I did. And so after about 12 of those conversations, I went, and started doing my best Larry imitation that I possibly could.
I'm sure after Seinfeld, you were just hit with all sorts of other TV offers. What drew you to Bob Patterson?
A lot of things, actually. The timing was right. The character was very right. We wanted to do a character that had a lot of connection to George so that the audience would be comfortable. We knew we were going to be, on in syndication indefinitely. And yet we didn't want to do just a George clone. I wanted a show where the sense of humor, the Seinfeldian sense of humor that I sort of grew up with in television, could come into play. And it just presented itself as an area and an arena where nobody had really gone before. It's certainly on the tip of most people's tongues. Self-help is the rage of the day. And as the show started to develop, we just started to like it more and more. The sensibilities, the different characters. So that was the one. It just presented itself pretty clearly, and we've been having a fabulous time doing it. And like most of the new shows on the ABC schedule, we're struggling as much as anybody else. Mm-hmm. But the people that are watching have been overwhelming in their response to the show. The strange thing has always been that the critics came out with the pilot and just kind of shot us to hell.
They did that with Seinfeld too.
That's what I was going to say. The show seems to be on the same trajectory that Seinfeld was on, God willing. So, for me, it's all known territory.
We're talking to Jason Alexander. Of course, Bob Patterson is the show we're talking about. Was it tough for you, Jason, to come off of a show like Seinfeld, which was, one of the best sitcoms of all time, basically, and even choose something else knowing it would be so tough to live up to that?
Well, yes, if that was my consideration. I go into any, certainly television project, with the full knowledge that nothing will be Seinfeld.
Right.
Seinfeld was something that was, struck by lightning. And even the situations under which Seinfeld was born are so different from what we have today. The audience that watched network television when Seinfeld was on the air is diminished by 40% or more. So the kind of success that Seinfeld enjoyed is not even humanly possible on television right now. So I don't start a new project with any delusions that we would have that kind of response or that kind of success. Unfortunately, other people come to it, drawing instant comparisons.
Sure.
And they're ridiculous comparisons. What I do know is that I much like in Seinfeld, I knew it was a good show because it made me laugh. That was the only criteria I had. As we were reading it, as we were doing it, we were laughing. If that is the most important criteria, then I've stumbled into another successful show. Because as we do it, and as we read it, and as we work on it, we find ourselves laughing.
You ever watch any of the old Seinfeld stuff on syndication?
I actually stopped watching Seinfeld while we were still doing it.
Oh, really?
For no other reason than my life got so nuts that I stopped watching most of television. But also, we would do the shows. They would write a lot of material, and a lot of stuff would get cut. So by the time I saw the shows, things that I had fallen in love with were gone, and I just made the decision to let them live in memory more happily than they would if I saw the final product.
Do you see any of the other Seinfeld cast members?
The
You
only
see
person
Jerry?
I bump into Julia quite a bit.
Sure, who's also been very funny on Curb Your Enthusiasm. This
Julia's
last
been
episode
great.
was hysterical.
Yeah.
So you usually see her. You haven't seen
Julia
Jerry?
and I always had, our lives were the most similar. We were both raising families, and we both, found ourselves pretty much doing the same thing at the same time, and we worked together outside of Seinfeld. Michael, I know, is all over the place, and Jerry is based on the East Coast, but is traveling and
Right.
all around.
Have you ever been to one of these Bob Patterson-type seminars? Have you ever been to one of these self-help deals, the Tony Robbins-ish, stand-up and scream things?
Yeah, I've attended one or two of them as an observer rather than as a participant. They're quite a phenomenon.
Yeah, they are, and their followers are hardcore.
It takes a certain. They are not for everybody.
No, not at all.
Well, you can find somebody out there to fit any taste. You can get the cuddly, cozy, Dr. Phil's, and you can also get the hardcore cheerleaders like Tony. Tony's great. He has you walking on hot coals by the end of the night. Mm-hmm. Did you read the thing how employees of Burger King took one of those walk on coals seminar, and everybody completed it, and several of them went to the hospital with 3-degree burns?
They got burned.
That's good.
That's beautiful. That's a good endorsement.
That's a successful program there.
That's when you know you're really bringing in the followers.
Yeah.
Yes.
Thank you, Jason. Jason Alexander.
Thanks, guys.